Declaro abierta
The 9,988th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the question concerning Haiti. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representatives of Barbados, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting. Ms. Catherine Russell, Executive Director, United Nations Children's Fund, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I warmly welcome the Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres. I thank him very much for being with us today, and I now give him the floor.
Señor Presidente.
President, I would like to thank Panama for convening this briefing on the humanitarian and child protection situation in Haiti. Your Excellencies, the people of Haiti are in a perfect storm of suffering. State authority is crumbling as gang violence engulfs Port-au-Prince and spreads beyond, paralyzing daily life and forcing families to flee. Civilians are under siege, with appalling reports of rape and sexual violence. Hospitals and schools are under repeated attack. The rule of law has collapsed. The humanitarian toll is staggering. 1.3 million people, half of them children, have fled their homes. 6 million people need humanitarian assistance. Haiti is now among the 5 global hunger hotspots of highest concern. Aid workers, especially local responders, are being targeted, facing threats of violence, extortion, and kidnapping. Let me be clear. All parties must respect international humanitarian law. Humanitarian personnel, assets, and facilities must be protected. Despite the danger, humanitarians remain on the ground, delivering food, water, medicine, and shelter. In the first quarter of this year alone, they reached 1.3 million people. Yet, Haiti remains shamefully overlooked and woefully underfunded. For 2025, we require $908 million to support 3.9 million people. But less than 10% of that has been received, making Haiti the least funded humanitarian appeal in the world. As a result, over 1.7 million people risk receiving no assistance at all. This is not a funding gap. It is a life and death emergency. I urge all donors to act before life-saving operations grind to a halt.
Excellencies, children are bearing the brunt of this crisis. In my annual report on children and armed conflict, Haiti ranked among the top 5 countries for grave violations against children in 2024. Children are being abducted and killed, recruited and used and subjected to horrific sexual violence, including gang rape. These are crimes that scare bodies, minds, and futures. The United Nations verified 2,269 grave violations against 1,373 children last year, a nearly 5-fold increase from the year before. This includes 213 children killed, 138 maimed, and 302 children recruited and used. We also verified 566 cases of sexual violence against minors, including 160 cases of gang rape, underscoring how such crimes are used as a weapon of terror and control. Basic services have collapsed. Mass displacement has left children without education, healthcare, or safety. As of April, gang violence have interrupted the schooling of 243,000 students. We verified 154 abductions, 154 attacks on schools and hospitals, and 728 incidents of denial of humanitarian access. The 2024 handover protocol between the United Nations and the government of Haiti is an important step toward protecting children detained for alleged association with armed groups, but implementation remains uneven. Conditions at Sermicol, the Integration Center for Minors in Conflict with the Law, are deeply troubling. I'm also alarmed by the rise of so-called community self-defense groups, some aligned with police forces, implicated in grave violations, including summary execution of children. I urge all authorities to implement the handover protocol nationwide. End the detention of children for alleged association with armed groups, ensure access to specialized services, including for survivors of sexual violence, and guarantee accountability for all perpetrators. I call on this Council to prioritize the protection of children. Excellencies, the political situation remains fragile, but there are emerging signals of hope. I'm encouraged by growing cooperation between the President of the Transitional Council, Laurent Saint-Cyr, and the Prime Minister, Alix Didier Fils-Aimé, who are both leading consultations to move the political process forward. We're also seeing closer coordination between the Prime Minister's Task Force, the Haitian National Police, and the Multinational Security Support Mission, improving operations on the ground. These fragile gains must be protected and expanded. That requires decisive and coordinated international security support to strengthen national efforts, protect the population, and create the conditions for a return to the rule of law and credible, inclusive elections. I welcome efforts by members of this Council to advance my 24 February proposal to strengthen the multinational security support mission through UN logistic and operational support. I urge the Council to act without delay and authorize an international force supported by the United Nations through logistical and operational backing and predictable financing. Voluntary contributions to the MSS Trust Fund remain essential, but assessed support would ensure impact and sustainability. Security measures must go hand in hand with increased pressure on those fueling the violence. This includes an effective arms embargo, as well as a targeted expansion of sanctions against gang leaders, financiers, armed traffickers, and others connected to them. These steps are vital to cut off the weapons and money that sustain chaos. Enforcement at ports, borders, and online must be strengthened in close coordination with regional partners. My special representative, Carlos Ruiz Massieu, is in Port-au-Prince, working with national and international partners to build consensus at this pivotal moment. BNU will continue to support an inclusive political process and work closely with the Haitian National Police, the MSS, and donors to ensure coherent, coordinated assistance. I urge all national stakeholders to seize this moment and sustain this spirit of cooperation. Excellencies, with unity inside the country and resolve from this Council, the Haitian people can emerge from the perfect storm, begin to turn hardship into hope, and reclaim their future. I reaffirm my unwavering solidarity and the determination of the United Nations to stand side by side with the people of Haiti for peace, dignity, and security, and I thank you.
Agradezco.
I would like to thank the Secretary General for his briefing. I now give the floor to Ms. Catherine Russell.
Good morning. Thank you, Ambassador Alfaro of Panama and Ambassador Shea of the United States for co-convening this briefing and for the opportunity to address this council today on the dire crisis facing children in Haiti. Thank you very much to the Secretary General for his deep and ongoing commitment to the protection of children affected by armed conflict. And a heartfelt thank you to UNICEF National Ambassador Jean Roosevelt for his passion, art, and dedication to the protection of children from violence. Excellencies, since I last briefed you on the situation in Haiti nearly a year ago, the humanitarian crisis has only worsened, spreading beyond the capital, Port-au-Prince, to other parts of the country. Haiti's children continue to endure unimaginable suffering amidst the brutal armed violence. Indeed, one of the defining features of this crisis is the rampant rights violations against children. As the Secretary General said, in 2024, Haiti ranked among the 5 countries on the Children in Armed Conflict agenda with the highest number of verified grave violations against children anywhere in the world. Last year, the UN in Haiti verified more than 2,000 grave violations against children. This marked a nearly 500% increase over the previous year. The increased rate of violations has continued into 2025. In the first quarter of this year, there has been a 25% increase compared to the first quarter of 2024. Most alarming is the almost 700% rise in cases of recruitment of children, alongside a 54% increase in killing and maiming. Keep in mind that these are just the cases we have been able to verify. We believe the true figures are likely much higher. Children are being killed and maimed during violence between armed actors, particularly in dense populated areas of Port-au-Prince. We have also verified cases of children being summarily executed. The entry of new armed actors and more sophisticated technology, including explosive weapons, into the fighting is putting children's safety at even greater risk. The recruitment and use of children by armed groups is rampant. We estimate that children currently account for a staggering 50% of armed group members active today. Children are being forced into combat roles, directly participating in armed confrontations. Others are being used as couriers, as lookouts, as porters to carry weapons, or are exploited for domestic labor, roles that expose them to grave and lasting physical and psychological harm. As I saw when I visited Haiti, children are being subjected to appalling sexual violence that has reached unprecedented levels. In 2024, the number of reported cases of sexual violence against children rose by 1,000% over the previous year. And as you will have seen in the Secretary General's annual report on children in armed conflict, the UN found that a quarter of all cases of verified sexual violence were gang rapes. This constitutes a widespread campaign to terrorize communities and inflict lasting physical and psychological trauma on children, especially girls, who account for most of the victims and survivors. Excellencies, in the face of this devastating situation for children, UNICEF and our partners are being denied access to provide the humanitarian response that is so desperately needed, which I would add is also a grave violation of children's rights. In 2023, the UN verified 5 incidents of denial of humanitarian access, while last year that number skyrocketed to 728. In denying access, armed groups are undermining the ability of humanitarian actors to reach 1.6 million children and women in areas under their control. This is also impeding our efforts to monitor and report on the grave violations committed. Last month, 6 UNICEF staff members were taken hostage by an armed group while carrying out a life-saving humanitarian mission. Thankfully, they have since been released, but this incident reveals the dangers humanitarian colleagues on the ground are facing. Humanitarian workers are not and must never be targets. Despite these challenges and the insecurity, UNICEF and our partners remain on the ground working to deliver life-saving assistance for those in need. Together with our partners, so far this year, we have treated 21,000 children for severe wasting, provided health care to 117,000 people, and reached 140,000 people with safe water. We continue our efforts to engage and negotiate with armed actors to prevent and end grave rights against children. And we are supporting the authorities to develop a child-sensitive and child-friendly system to respond when violations are reported. Since 2024, the government of Haiti and UNICEF have demobilized and reintegrated over 140 children through the framework of the Protocol for the Handover of Children Associated with Armed Groups. And just last month, the Haitian government, in partnership with UNICEF, officially launched the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against children and youth recruitment. This 3-year program seeks to protect children from recruitment, exploitation, and violence while offering them reintegration solutions and support. But far more must be done to protect Haiti's children from the scourge of violence that has taken hold in their communities. Today, I ask members of this council to use all available leverage to protect children and to support concrete actions to prevent further violations. I ask you to demand that all armed groups end attacks on schools and hospitals, immediately release children from their ranks, and allow secure, unimpeded access for humanitarian workers to safely reach communities in need. I ask that you appeal to security forces on the ground to prioritize the safety and protection of all children and to ensure they are treated as children first and foremost, taking every measure to further avoid killing and injuring children, including those who have been recruited. I ask that you support the government of Haiti and its partners to prioritize children's rights across public policies and through investment in social services. This includes education, healthcare, justice, and social protection for children. This also includes reintegration for children currently or previously associated with armed groups, and for children who have been subjected to sexual violence and other grave violations. Lastly, we call on donors to show solidarity with the Haitian people and contribute to funding appeals. The humanitarian needs and response plan to address the needs of nearly 4 million people in Haiti is just 10% funded. Without immediate donor support, our life-saving assistance and protection services for those most in need are at serious risk. Excellencies, grave rights violations against children in Haiti or anywhere in the world cannot be tolerated. Every child deserves a chance to be safe, healthy, and to live in peace. But peace can only be forged and sustained when children are prioritized and protected. UNICEF stands ready to work with this council, with Haitian children and communities, and with every partner dedicated to this cause. We must urgently respond with a shared commitment to finally deliver the promise of a peaceful, prosperous society for all of Haiti's children. Thank you very much.
Agradezco a la
I thank Ms. Russell for her briefing. I now give the floor to Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt.
Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, we gather once again today with heavy hearts. We're here to address a reality that shakes us deeply, the suffering of children in Haiti. Haiti, this great nation, a symbol of courage and freedom, is enduring one of the darkest and most difficult chapters in its recent history. At the center of the storm are children, innocent and vulnerable, children who are the bearers of the future and who are paying the highest price. Armed violence is tearing Haiti apart like a broken guitar, the strings of which produce nothing but tears and cries. Armed groups have overtaken entire neighborhoods. They've robbed children of the lightness of their steps. Children now live in a symphony of fear in which every alleyway has been turned into a dissonant note. And it is these very same children who are paying the heaviest price. They're being forcibly recruited, abused, used as cannon fodder as if their youth no longer held any value. In 2024 alone, recruitment of children surged by 70%. This persistent and worsening situation threatens the future of an entire generation. Over 680,000 children no longer have a home to grow up in. They sleep in overcrowded conditions where even the air seems heavy with sorrow. Many of them are exploited, humiliated, subjected to verbal, psychological, physical, and often sexual violence. Rape, especially rape against girls, has risen by more than 1,000% in 2024 versus 2023. The Secretary General's latest report on grave violations against children in Haiti confirms this tragedy. Abductions, killings, sexual violence, attacks on schools and hospitals now run into the hundreds. Schools which used to be open sanctuaries have become minefields. Schools are being destroyed and classrooms have been converted into shelters for displaced families. This reality is a silent condemnation of an entire generation. Today, more than 1.5 million children are being deprived of regular access to education. 3.3 million, that's 2 out of every 3, rely on humanitarian aid. 129,000 children are at risk of dying of hunger this year. Ladies and gentlemen, behind these figures, which we repeat aloud over and over, there are faces, names, fragile dreams. Perhaps that of a little girl who wanted to be a doctor, or that of a boy who dreamt of playing drums at a carnival. Sadly, these dreams are now on hold. They're being snuffed out. They're under threat. I speak before you today as a musician and a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. But above all, I speak to you as a Haitian. The child I once was always dreamt of contributing to building a better world by carrying the messages of love, peace, and solidarity to people across our planet. At this very moment, I'm here before you, fulfilling my dream. And I'm convinced that, just like myself, the child you once were is also here in this chamber today, realizing their dream of becoming diplomats, ambassadors, agronomists, doctors, teachers, the list goes on. Let us give that same chance to our children, the chance to grow, to dream, and to one day become agents of change in our world. Let us give them back their most fundamental right, their childhood. Give them once again the opportunity to laugh, to run, to learn, to dream. Let us carry together their dignity, their hope, and their future. Let us take action so that Haiti may once again have schools, hospitals, and safe spaces. Let us take action so that children no longer have to live in fear, but live upheld by the promise of tomorrow. Let us act so that the future of Haiti is no longer compromised, but propelled forward by the energy, the laughter, and the dreams of its children. Ladies and gentlemen, the children of Haiti have sounded the alarm, raising a cry of urgency. The time to come to their aid is not tomorrow nor the day after. It is now. I thank you.
Agradezco al señor Roosevelt.
I would like to thank Mr. Roosevelt for his briefing. I will now make a statement in my capacity as representative of Panama. Your Excellencies, I would like to begin by warmly welcoming the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. I thank him for being here, which is a matter of particular significance for Panama, because it reflects not just this organization's commitment, but also the geographical and human proximity that binds us to the reality that we are discussing today. I would also like to thank Ms. Russell, Executive Director of UNICEF, for her briefing and for her constant leadership to help children in the most difficult contexts. I would also like to express our deep thanks to Jean-Jean, whose work in Haiti has already changed lives and whose voice today reminds us from civil society of the direct impact that our decisions have on the lives of thousands of Haitian children. We have convened this meeting to address a reality that demands our full attention. That is to say, the humanitarian crisis in Haiti, and in particular, the tragic plight of Haitian children. This is a topic that, unfortunately, has not received the necessary attention on the Security Council's agenda, even though it is one of the most serious crises in all of our hemisphere, where only silence has been heard. This same people who once inspired an entire region, including ours, to rid themselves from colonialism and slavery, are today facing unprecedented criminal violence. Your Excellencies, speaking about Haiti today means, above all, speaking about the children of Haiti, boys and girls who, in spite of their suffering, are carrying on their shoulders a weight that no child should have to bear. The last report of the Secretary General on children in armed conflict in 2024 verified an unprecedented increase in grave violations throughout the world. And Haiti was one of those countries with the highest percentage increase in violations against children in the entire report. 2,269 grave violations were verified against 1,373 children, and specifically 351 children killed or maimed, 302 recruited by gangs, and 566 victims of sexual violence, including 160 cases of gang rape, which constitutes a 490% increase in comparison with the previous year, 2023. This means that access to essential services and justice for the survivors is of paramount importance. This is in addition to widespread internal displacement. Some 1.3 million people have been displaced from their homes. Of those, 680,000 are boys and girls. Families are having to repeatedly flee, and they continue to put their lives on the line, many going towards impromptu locations without any basic services, and this only exacerbates risks of protection, health, and nutrition, particularly for women and children. Your Excellencies, there is also a health, food, and educational emergency. Violence has cruelly struck the heart of the classrooms. In 2024, 284 schools were destroyed, and only in January of this year, another 47 schools were destroyed in the capital, Port-au-Prince. In addition to this, fear and attacks have meant that at least 959 schools have had to close. Many of them have been converted into makeshift refuges for families who have lost everything. It is a devastating state of affairs. By the 30th of April this year, 1,606 schools remained closed in 4 departments of the country. As a result of this, more than 243,000 students have seen their right to education cut off. They have been deprived not just of the ability to learn, but also of the hope for a better future. In addition to this, with persistent scarcity and hunger, the entire food supply chain is under threat. The people of Haiti are risking their lives to secure the scarce available products that there are. Peasants in the Artibonite are fearful to cultivate their land. Truck drivers have to pay extortionate taxes to the gangs in order to transport food. In this very difficult context, more than half of the Haitian population, some 5.7 million people, are suffering acute food insecurity. And this includes more than 37,000 pregnant women. In addition, more than 1 million boys and girls are facing urgent levels, and some 120,000 children under the age of 5 risk acute, serious malnutrition. In addition, people are struggling to get at basic services, drinking water, and health services. Haiti is one of the 5 countries in the world that is most affected by food insecurity in the world. These figures are not simple statistics. Behind every figure, there is a childhood that's been cut off too early. Empty desks in schools that are waiting for teachers to come back, and dreams that are not able to flourish. Your Excellencies, the 2025 humanitarian response plan called for $908 million. And even though that was 751.6 million of that was stated to be a priority, by the midway through this month, only 19.5% had been funded, which is the lowest percentage in the entire world. This plan aims to help 3.9 million people, but it is on the cusp of gridlock today. Closing this gap is not just a technical statistical matter, it is literally the difference between life and death for thousands of women, children, and older people in Haiti. Given this reality, and the most vulnerable are bearing the brunt of this crisis, given this, Panama proposes a response that is focused on children in line with this Council's resolutions. We call for all security measures to include child protection measures as well as unhindered access for United Nations monitoring teams and the relevant protocols. We call on all parties to abide by the Safe Schools Declaration and the guidelines to avoid the military use of schools, and urgently to finance the restructuring of infrastructure, as well as the protection of teachers and safe learning, particularly in the highest risk areas. We also urgently call for finance to be prioritized in critical areas such as nutrition, including treating severe emaciation and transfers to guarantee food. We also need to ensure that healthcare is provided through mobile clinics and immunization, water and sanitation, with measures to deal with cholera, and safe spaces and psychosocial support for children as well. Your Excellencies, every figure is a story that can still have a different outcome. A recruited child who can go back to school, a girl who survived violence who can receive attention and justice, a baby with serious acute malnutrition who can still recover if therapeutic milk reaches them in time, a displaced family who can live again without fear. As the Haitian saying says, men en pile chez pas loup. With many hands, the work is light. That is precisely what needs to be done. Panama takes inspiration from this popular adage to urge the international community to join more hands together and to close the gaps that the Haitian people are facing today. Panama will continue to work with this entire council and also with the multinational support mission, with the United Nations Office, BNU, and with the Republic of Haiti as well, to ensure that the protection of children is the benchmark of success of our collective action. We owe the children of Haiti more than figures and speeches. We owe them results. Thank you very much. I once again resume my function as President of the Council, and I now will give the floor to those Council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Executive Director Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for your briefings. The United States remains concerned about escalating levels of violence in Haiti. The territorial expansion of the gangs threatens to undermine gains made by both the Haitian National Police and the multinational security support mission. We continue to condemn the recruitment of children in armed gangs and the disproportionate impact of gang violence on children. In 2024, Haiti was reported as one of the countries with the most violations and abuses against children, with the large majority committed by the Vivre Ensemble coalition, which for the first time was listed in the Secretary General's report on children in armed conflict. Due to the violence, over 1.3 million people, half of them children, have been displaced. Children face constant risks of being killed or injured during gang attacks, police operations, or acts of mob justice. Forced recruitment by gangs and recurring incidents of sexual violence rob children of the peaceful lives they deserve. Corruption and indiscriminate violence remain major issues. We have taken concrete steps to counter impunity for those supporting violence in Haiti, with the United States designation of Vivre Ensemble and Grand Griffe as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. We applaud this council for the recent designation of Vivre Ensemble and Grand Griffe as well. This sends an important message from the international community that we hold bad actors and entities to account. The United States recently announced a $5 million reward for information leading to the arrest of gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, also known as Barbecue. In addition, we remain committed to the removal and prosecution of criminals and enablers hiding in the United States who contribute to the violence and destruction in Haiti. These significant steps taken by the United States demonstrate the Trump administration's commitment to countering these criminal gangs and foreign terrorist organizations. Mr. President, food insecurity also remains a pressing concern. Active humanitarian and life-saving assistance awards continuing in Haiti include U.S.-grown emergency food aid, nutrition support, logistics, shelter, clean water, and medical services for crisis-affected Haitians. This sort of programming addresses critical needs like food, shelter, medical care for violence-affected children and survivors of sexual violence, cholera treatment and prevention, hygiene, and malnutrition treatment for families and children. In June, the Organization of American States General Assembly, the United States also co-sponsored a resolution which passed unanimously to galvanize action for Haiti and to complement efforts here at the UN. Moreover, the United States continues to work with the OAS as it proceeds with its roadmap for Haiti. This is an important step toward the regional leadership we expect on such shared regional challenges. Mr. President, with respect to the MSS mission, the United States thanks Kenya for its dedication, leadership, and support for over the past year. Kenya answered Haiti's call at a critical moment, demonstrating an enormous compassion and courage, putting its people in harm's way, thousands of miles from home, and preventing a complete collapse of the Haitian state. Without the presence of the MSS mission, the gangs would have been even more emboldened in their ambitions and brazen atrocities against civilians in Haiti. We would also like to thank the Bahamas, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and Jamaica for contributing personnel toward this effort, and to Canada for its sizable contribution to the UN Trust Fund and to the planning efforts. As we look to combat the threat of terrorist gangs looking to topple the state, we must ensure an even greater share of the international community is invested in the fight. To address this, today, the United States and Panama are sharing a draft UN Security Council resolution with this council to help address the growing violence by establishing a gang suppression force and creating a UN support office to provide logistical support to efforts on the ground. We urge council members, join us. Join us in responding to the call from the Haitian government as we forge a new path toward peace and security and establish the UN support office to properly and sustainably resource this effort. This will ensure the mission has the tools at its disposal to take the fight to the gangs and ensure that the Haitian state can meet the foundational needs of its people. President, we note the next international force must be resourced to hold territory, secure infrastructure, and complement the Haitian National Police. In parallel, a comprehensive approach is required to disrupt gang financing, arms trafficking, and other illicit flows fueling instability. To make meaningful progress on this collective challenge, we need international stakeholders and donors to come to the table and join the United States, Panama, and others who have demonstrated their commitment to Haiti's security in meaningful burden sharing to help promote stability in Haiti. We stand with the Haitian people as they seek a secure, stable future for their country. We remain committed to working with the international community to drive progress forward in Haiti and call on all council members to take concrete action in support of this effort. I thank you.
Agradezco a la
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. I thank the Secretary General, Executive Director Russell, and Mr. Roosevelt for briefing us today. And I welcome the participation of the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados in our meeting. I'll make 3 points. First, the United Kingdom remains deeply concerned about the escalating humanitarian crisis in Haiti. As we've heard today, this crisis is driven by gang violence and instability that devastates communities and undermines efforts to restore democratic governance. We are particularly concerned by the impacts on children, who are among the most vulnerable victims of this crisis. 1 in 8 children in Haiti have been displaced. Armed gangs are systematically recruiting minors, fueling a surge in exploitation, sexual violence, and abuse. These atrocities spread fear and inflict lasting trauma on Haiti's young people. The UK remains firmly committed to supporting efforts to tackle insecurity in Haiti, and we unequivocally condemn the use of sexual violence, sexual and gender-based violence as a tool of control and terror. Second, we commend Kenya's leadership of the Multinational Security Support Mission, and we express our strong support for the vital work of international partners, including BINU, in helping the Haitian authorities deliver change for the Haitian people. As part of this commitment, the UK has provided $6.7 million to fund OHCHR's work with the MSS to help ensure compliance with international standards on human rights, conduct, and discipline. In parallel, we continue to take action against those responsible for human rights violations, including through the implementation of targeted sanctions. Third, re-establishing security is essential to Haiti's long-term stability and to alleviating suffering. In this context, we welcome the Secretary General's recommendations for enhanced security assistance for Haiti. President, we stand ready to work with the US, Panama, and all Council members to mobilize that support to the Haitian people and to help Haiti's children enjoy a future free from violence, fear, and hunger. I thank you.
agradezco
I thank the representative of the UK for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President, for convening this meeting. And we thank the Secretary General for his comprehensive briefing that provided a clear and authoritative account of the situation in Haiti. And I also thank Catherine Russell for UNICEF's sobering assessment. We also appreciate the testimony by Mr. Roosevelt. Pakistan also welcomes the participation of the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados in this meeting. Mr. President, Haiti confronts a crisis of extraordinary complexity. Governance collapse, rampant criminal networks, and a deepening humanitarian emergency. Addressing this requires urgent, coordinated international support alongside a Haitian-led and owned process to restore security, advance the political process, rebuild institutions, and expand humanitarian relief. 3 points deserve emphasis. First, the humanitarian situation is dire. Over 1.3 million are displaced and nearly half the population, 6 million people, need urgent aid. Children are the most affected. As the Secretary General said, children are bearing the brunt of this crisis. Millions lack healthcare, clean water, and schooling. 2.85 million face acute food insecurity, with 1 million at emergency levels. Safe, unhindered humanitarian access is critical to prevent further loss of life and social collapse. This overlooked and underfunded situation, as the Secretary General put it, needs to be addressed. Second, humanitarian relief must be matched by political progress. Haiti's leadership must rise to the occasion, demonstrate unity, and put the national interest first. The Transitional President Council carries a vital responsibility to steer the country through this crisis. Lasting peace must be Haitian-led and supported by sustained international backing. The emerging signals of hope reported by the Secretary General are encouraging. We concur that the fragile gains must be protected and expanded. Third, stabilization requires strong state institutions, police, justice system, and governance structures. Armed gangs must be dismantled and children protected from recruitment and all aspects. Rule of law must be restored. The multinational security support mission, composed primarily of Kenyan personnel and other contributors who are diligently fulfilling their mandate in extremely challenging circumstances, deserves robust council backing. And BNU's continued role remains indispensable in reinforcing security, governance, and political stability. We also welcome the interest and proactive engagement by countries in the region to support Haiti in tackling the challenges that it confronts. Mr. President, the Haitian people deserve to live in peace and dignity, free from fear, free from want. They cannot be left to violence and despair. This is a test of the international community's resolve. Collective, timely, and bold action is indispensable. Pakistan stands in solidarity with the Haitian people. We have supported the Secretary General's recommendations submitted in February this year, and we are ready to work with all council members, including our US and Panamanian colleagues, to help deliver security, stability, and hope to Haiti. I thank you.
Agradezco.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Greece.
President, I would like to thank Panama and the United States for convening this meeting at such a critical juncture. As gang violence continues to ravage Haiti and the mandate of the Multinational Security Support Mission approaches its expiration next month. The presence of the Secretary General underscores the gravity of the situation and the urgency for decisive Council action. I wish to thank His Excellency Mr. Guterres for his comprehensive briefing, as Greece fully subscribes to his call for immediate action. I would also like to thank the Executive Director of UNICEF, Ms. Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for highlighting the horrific acts of violence and unthinkable cruelty against children. We welcome the presence of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados. In view of the above, I would like to make the following 3 points. First, Greece remains deeply concerned about the deteriorating security situation, with gangs extending their territorial control in Centre and Artibonite departments. The MSS has delivered positive results in combating gang violence in the capital, thanks to the steadfast leadership of Kenya and the valuable commitment of all contributing nations. However, the MSS continues to face critical logistical and financial shortfalls. As we have consistently underlined, providing further UN logistical and operational support in line with the Secretary General's recommendation is an essential step towards stabilizing Haiti. In this regard, we welcome the announcement just made by the pen holders that they will put forward a resolution on the way forward. And we take positive note of the letter sent by the Haitian authorities yesterday announcing the intention by certain member states to establish a standing group of partners. At the same time, efforts to curb criminal activity, including illicit arms and drug trafficking, must be strengthened through the strict enforcement of the arms embargo and the sanctions regime. In this regard, we welcome the recent designation of gangs, Viva and Sam and Grand Grief, under the Haiti sanctions regime. Second, as we have heard today by the Executive Director of UNICEF, also highlighted in the Secretary General's latest report on children and armed conflict, violence against children in Haiti has reached unprecedented levels. We call for an immediate end to all grave violations against children, notably the recruitment and use by gangs. Safeguarding their access to safety, healthcare, essential services, and education must remain a top priority. We commend UNICEF's life-saving efforts, and we welcome the launch of the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against children and youth recruitment, a valuable partnership between UNICEF, the Haitian government, and the European Union. Third, women are also bearing the brunt of this crisis. Gender-based and sexual violence, including systematic rape and collective rape, is being used as a tool of terror and subjugation. According to the Secretary General's most recent report on conflict-related sexual violence, released just last week, Haiti ranks among the 5 most affected contexts globally in 2024, with many incidents occurring in informal displacement sites. This is particularly alarming, given that 1.3 million Haitians are internally displaced and half the population faces acute food insecurity, conditions that heighten women's vulnerability to sexual violence and harmful coping mechanisms. Mr. President, Greece strongly supports efforts to restore security and improve dire humanitarian conditions in Haiti, paving the way for a peaceful and sustainable political transition. We stand ready to work closely with all Council members in this direction. I thank you.
A la delegación.
I thank the representative of Greece for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of France. President, first of all, I'd like to thank the Secretary General for being here with us in the Council this morning and for his commitment to bring about a return to security and stability in Haiti. I would also like to thank the Executive Director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, for her briefing on the worrying situation facing children in the country, as well as the briefing provided by Mr. Roosevelt. I also welcome the Chargé d'Affaires of Haiti to this meeting. President, re-establishing security in Haiti remains our priority. As we have just heard, the situation on the ground is alarming. The Haitian people, particularly women and children, continue to suffer gang violence. The gangs are now operating outside the region of Port-au-Prince. The situation in Haiti is now mentioned in the blacklist in the Secretary General's annual report on children and armed conflict. Half of the people, some 6 million people, need humanitarian aid. More than 1 million people are internally displaced within Haiti, and more than half of them are children. The deterioration of the security situation is preventing aid from getting in and is depriving Haitians from access to basic services. France has stepped up with urgent humanitarian aid of more than 25 million euros since last year to combat food insecurity and to provide assistance to those who have been displaced. The re-establishment of democratic institutions and the rule of law in Haiti is critical if there is to be an end to violations of human rights and international law. This means that the political transition must move forward, and this involves re-establishing security conditions which will allow elections to be held. President, to achieve that, this Council must continue to use all the tools it has at its disposal, and this includes sanctions. They are a key tool to combat the gangs and transnational criminal networks that fuel them. This is a critical lever to support the work of the Haitian National Police and the Haitian justice system. France supported the addition of the Vive Ensemble and Grand Guif gangs on the sanctions list. Extending the sanctions to individuals that support and finance the gangs is something that must continue, and particular attention must be given to those who are violating the arms embargo which was imposed by Council Resolution 2653. This embargo, like the individual sanctions, must be strictly implemented. And that is why the Haitian authorities must be provided with the necessary support to do this. Sir, heightened international support in terms of security in Haiti is of paramount importance. France has provided support, including financial support, to the MSS in Haiti. France once again pays tribute to Kenya's commitment and the commitment of other troop contributing countries to Haiti. In spite of the results that have been seen, this mission must be better equipped and may better equipped in terms of troops in particular to curb the expansion of the gangs and to recover the land that they control. The establishment of a UN Bureau office is needed to provide technical and logistical and operational support to a mission that must be under Chapter 7, as has been said, through a robust mandate. And the Secretary General made recommendations in this regard last February. France is willing to work with all members of the Council to do this and to respond to the appeal launched by the Haitian people to the international community to do this. Thank you. The President, I thank the representative of France for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Guyana.
President, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3+, namely Algeria, Sierra Leone, Somalia, and my own country, Guyana. The A3+ thanks the Presidency for convening today's briefing on the humanitarian situation in Haiti and welcomes the participation of the distinguished representatives of Haiti, Barbados, and the Dominican Republic in this meeting. We are grateful to the Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Ms. Catherine Russell for their briefs and have taken careful note of the contribution of Mr. Jean-Jacques Roosevelt and thank him for his important work in Haiti. Mr. President, today's meeting lays bare in the starkest of terms the reality confronting Haiti. Expanding gang violence marked by mass killings, abductions, and sexual and gender-based violence has claimed countless lives, displaced over 1.3 million people, collapsed essential services, and deepened severe food insecurity. The gravity of the crisis is particularly reflected in its impact on children. The Secretary General's most recent report on children and armed conflict recorded a 490% increase in grave violations in 2024 alone, with over 2,000 violations verified, placing Haiti among the 5 countries most affected worldwide, bearing in mind that these figures do not reflect the full scale of violations against children. Women and girls face heightened risks with pervasive incidents of gang rape, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. Meanwhile, the humanitarian response is faltering. The humanitarian response plan is only 10% funded. Gangs continue to impose access impediments by expanding their territorial control, while insecurity further constrains humanitarian operations. The situation is also compounded by the rising deportations of Haitian nationals, which place additional strain on already scarce resources. The A3+ acknowledges the ongoing efforts of the Haitian authorities, supported by bilateral, regional, and international partners, to strengthen institutions and improve the national response capacity. We especially welcome the launch of the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against children and youth recruitment under the framework of the Protocol for the Handover of Children Associated with Armed Gangs. We urge the Haitian government to continue working closely with UNICEF and partners to protect children from recruitment, exploitation, and abuse, as well as to ensure justice and accountability for the perpetrators of these heinous crimes. We further demand an end to all violations against children and their release from within the ranks of armed gangs. Mr. President, the acute security and humanitarian crisis must be addressed in a coherent and balanced manner, including through a carefully calibrated international response. In this context, the A3 Plus offers the following 3 points. First, the crisis in Haiti is multidimensional, and so too must be our collective response. The A3 Plus underscores the urgency of coordinated international action across the political, humanitarian, security, and economic tracks, each of which is inextricably linked and must be addressed in tandem. For any solution to endure, it must be comprehensive, tackling both security and socio-economic challenges while remaining firmly Haitian-led, Haitian-owned, and Haitian-focused. This must also inform a comprehensive disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process for children who should be treated primarily as victims. This is necessary to prevent an entire generation of boys and girls from being lost and to break recurring cycles of violence against children. Second, the security situation is urgent. Addressing it is fundamental to unlocking progress in all other areas. Without stabilization, humanitarian goods and personnel cannot reach those most in need. In this regard, discussions on safety and security must also address challenges to the safety of humanitarian personnel and the continuity of aid operations. Addressing security risks without accounting for operational safety or vice versa creates gaps and leave both personnel and affected populations vulnerable. We therefore encourage the Haitian authorities to take the lead, working in close partnership with the UN agencies and other humanitarian actors to implement integrated security approaches that ensure the safety of all humanitarian staff, including local volunteers, who are often the most exposed, and to guarantee safe passage for evacuations where necessary. Third, we wish to underscore the need to restore the rule of law and judicial institutions, which are indispensable for long-term peace. In this regard, we support ongoing efforts to combat corruption, impunity, and the collapse of justice systems. We reaffirm the need to build resilience and safeguard the future of Haiti's children. To achieve this, it is essential to address the root causes of the crisis, strengthen good governance, the rule of law, and accountability, ensure access to public services, especially education and health care, including physical and psychological care, foster economic development, and ensure social inclusion for sustainable peace. We welcome the ongoing contributions of the Security Council, Peacebuilding Commission, ECOSOC, and regionally, CARICOM and the OAS in support of Haitian-led efforts. We reiterate our call for stronger collaboration between the UN and all partners, convinced that through sustained collective effort, a lasting solution to Haiti's multidimensional crisis can and will be achieved. Mr. President, as the Security Council deliberates on the way forward in implementing the recommendations of the Secretary General issued in February this year, and as we collectively consider avenues to further broaden support for the Multinational Security Support MSS mission, we wish to underscore the continued importance of sustained assistance to the Haitian security forces. In this regard, we stress the need to prioritize capacity building efforts, including specific provisions for dedicated child protection resources, and to reinforce the institutional effectiveness of national agencies entrusted with the implementation of Security Council resolutions and the administration of related sanctions measures. Finally, Mr. President, the A3 Plus reaffirms its unwavering solidarity with the people of Haiti and reiterates its call to the international community not to become desensitized to decades of overwhelming adversity. At this critical moment, we cannot and must not turn away. Instead, we urge action to address human fragility, and vulnerability, in keeping with the principles upon which our international law and multilateral system are founded. It is therefore the duty of this Council and the wider international community to honor Haiti's resilience and with renewed commitment and concrete support. Haiti must not and will not stand alone. I thank you.
Agradezco a la
I thank the representative of Guyana for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me also thank the Secretary General and Executive Director Russell for their briefings. Time and again, you have sounded the alarm and drawn the world's attention to the dire situation in Haiti, and Denmark commends your leadership. Jean-John Roosevelt, I also want to thank you for your passionate call for action for the children of Haiti. And I welcome the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados to the meeting. Mr. President, today's briefing leaves no room for doubts. Haiti is a country consumed by crisis. Its people, in particular its children, endure daily insecurity, deprivation, and despair. Allow me to focus on three key areas. First, the humanitarian situation remains dire and requires urgent collective action. Insecurity has spread beyond the capital and across the country. As we've heard, 1.3 million people, more than half of who are children, have been forcibly displaced. Women and girls face widespread patterns of conflict-related sexual and gender-based violence at the hands of gangs as a way to control and instill fear into communities. Hunger plagues more than half of the population, with 2 million people in emergency-level food insecurity and thousands in famine-like conditions. Denmark commends the heroic efforts of the UN and humanitarian partners on the ground. Even in the most difficult circumstances, they continue to deliver, but their resources are strained, their environment is increasingly dangerous, and needs continue to grow. We call on the international community to urgently scale up funding for Haiti's humanitarian response plan, currently funded at around 10%, as we also heard from the Secretary General. Humanitarian workers must be granted access to those in need and protected in line with the principles of civilian protection and humanitarian law. Second, Mr. President, as Executive Director Russell clearly outlined, the toll of this crisis has disproportionately impacted Haiti's children. 3 million children, the highest number on record, require humanitarian support, with many suffering severe malnutrition. Every day, children bear the brunt of insecurity. The latest Secretary General's report on children in armed conflict is particularly alarming. And as we heard again from Executive Director Russell, we have a staggering increase of almost 500% in grave violations against children just from 2023 to 2024. Children associated with armed gangs must always be treated as victims. We call on the authorities to facilitate the safe exit of children from gangs and reintegration into the community, and to implement the handover protocol from January 2024. More must also be done to investigate these crimes and end impunity. Accountability must be ensured. Third, Mr. President, tackling this multifaceted crisis requires a concerted and coordinated response. The international community, including this Council, can and must do more. Denmark strongly supports the multinational security support mission and commend Kenya's leadership role and other contributing countries. However, the MSS does not have the capacity to meet the scale of threat and complexity on the ground. We believe there must be greater UN involvement. It is beyond time for this Council to urgently consider the recommendations put forward in the Secretary General's letter to better support the MSS in fulfilling its mandate. And we welcome efforts to this end as presented today and led by Panama and United States. Greater use and implementation of UN sanctions is also critical to combat criminal activity destabilizing Haiti. We welcome the Council's recent additions to the Haiti sanctions list. More individuals could be added, particularly those funding gang activity. The flow of weapons into Haiti remains a key driver of instability, and we call for member states to scale up their efforts to stem the illicit trafficking of arms. In closing, Mr. President, a sustainable and lasting peace must be Haitian-led and Haitian-owned. With 6 months left in the roadmap to restore Haiti's democratic institutions, we strongly urge the Transitional Presidential Council, Prime Minister, and key stakeholders to accelerate their work and prioritize establishing security. The international community must stand with Haiti now to support stability, prosperity, and life of dignity the people of Haiti deserve. I thank you.
Agradezco.
I thank the representative of Denmark for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, President. We're grateful to Antonio Guterres and Ms. Catherine Russell, Executive Director, for their briefings. We listened very carefully to the civil society representative as well. The situation in Haiti, unfortunately, continues to deteriorate. As clearly illustrated by the facts the Secretary General voiced today, as by Mr. Roosevelt's account. The multi-level crisis in Haiti is exacerbated by the fact that there simply is no legitimate state authority to speak of. Transitional mechanisms have still not garnered the requisite support in the eyes of Haitian society. Against this backdrop, unfortunately, for now, conditions for either the swift holding of a referendum or general elections initially planned for early next year, these conditions have not been established. This situation has prompted in an uptick of instability on the ground. Against this backdrop, what comes to the fore are the most vile components of society, criminal groups of all stripes. In Haiti, this is being felt particularly acutely. The situation is disastrous. In the region surrounding the capital, the state is de facto absent. And yet we have parallel governance structures rooted in arbitrary action, extortion, and intimidation of the people. They flourish. Over the last few months, their influence has only grown. The last stumbling block which criminals face is the national police. Yet there are many questions hanging over the national police's actions, and these stem from worrying statistics about civilian casualties. The national police, unfortunately, is regularly accused of disproportionate use of force. President, we remain convinced that the primary responsibility for the fate of the people of Haiti, without a doubt, falls squarely on the Haitian authorities. But this doesn't mean that the international community should remain on the sidelines. What's sorely needed is international support for Haitians, especially on security. Regrettably, the most valuable support mechanism for Haiti, that is the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS, the mandate extension of which Security Council members will be discussing next month. The MSS continues to face a whole host of predictable difficulties linked to the fact that at the very outset, the mission's finances, personnel, and equipment provision were insufficiently clarified. We warned about all of this at the very beginning, yet our warnings fell on deaf ears. What was rightly pointed out by the SG's earlier proposals on strengthening the mission's capabilities, the key precondition for the MSS doing its work successfully is sustainable and predictable financing. The reason is very simple. Donor countries which established the MSS and initiated the MSS's establishment and portrayed it as a universal means of stabilizing the situation in the country, they are shirking the responsibilities they took on. This is indecorous on the part of Security Council members, especially vis-a-vis Kenya, on whose shoulders the lion's share of problems linked to the deployment and the functioning of the MSS have fallen. We stand convinced that with proper supplies and a bigger contingent, these forces could and will still be able to play a stabilizing role. On this note, we are encouraged by positive signals from countries in the region, which expressed a willingness to furnish the MSS with additional support, including that from the Organization of American States. Member states have stated their intent to support the MSS. On top of this, without a doubt, there is still need for the UN Integrated Office in Haiti, BINU. We hope that its new leader, whom we know very well from his work on Colombia, Mr. Carlos Ruiz, every success in his new role. We are counting on him managing to launch the political dialogue process, which is so important for the country and which will result in, at last, a formation of the sorely needed legitimate and representative government authorities in Haiti. In parallel with security issues, What we also need on the island is greater oversight over the sanctions the Security Council has introduced. First and foremost, this is the arms embargo, which exists only in name and is not being complied with. Countries which remain the key suppliers of military use products flowing to the island. Unless this simple, in essence, but rather effective measure is implemented, there can be no talk about improvements to the security situation, nor about an effective fight against gangs. President, during our discussions on Haiti in the Council, we, as a rule of thumb, attach priority importance to the security situation and the political process. Having said that, we shouldn't forget that the chaos that reigns in Haiti is also hitting the most vulnerable segments of society, first and foremost children, and it's hitting them very hard. They are the future of this young Haitian nation, and they're being subjected to torture, killings, abductions, chilling cases of sexual violence, including against the youngest children. Moreover, what's also leaving an imprint on their fates are regular attacks on schools and hospitals, as well as humanitarian access denials. The darkest side of life in Haiti is the rampant practice of recruitment of children by gangs and their active involvement in illegal activities. Today, half of armed groups active in the country are made up of minors. What's more is the majority of enlisted children are used as direct participants in hostilities. What future awaits them under these conditions? Due to the ongoing violence, children are losing out on an opportunity to get an education and medical assistance. According to OCHA, over 1,600 schools in the school have shut, depriving 240,000 children of access to education. Previously, this problem affected the capital first and foremost, but now, because of gang activities, attacks are being waged on educational institutions throughout the country. Schools are also having to be used to house IDPs. Given the deficit of material resources, the authorities are de facto having to choose, giving people shelter or giving their kids an education. And yet, gangs are not above using schools and hospitals as human shields, which only makes the problem worse. President, we stand convinced that a leading role in alleviating the plight of children in Haiti should be played by the Haitian authorities. We note that they're determined to providing protection to children and are prioritizing this issue in the work of the National Police. We support their consistent work on demobilizing and reintegrating minors. We believe self-defense groups should not fall outside the scope of these efforts. In turn, international organizations and the international community should furnish all kinds of support to these measures. We've seen that many Haitians continue to rely on international humanitarian assistance. We commend the work of the UN's humanitarian wing in Haiti. Its staff remain on the ground and continue to assist Haitians despite the huge risks to their own safety. In this endeavor, they are assisted by the Haitian police and the MSS. However, many children simply cannot use this assistance. As of April 2025, 1 out of every 4 children in Haiti lived in an area with limited access to life-saving assistance. Over the last few months, little has changed. We shouldn't forget that humanitarian workers are severely limited by the security vacuum that persists in Haiti. President, by way of conclusion, I'd like to underscore that we understand full well that the multi-factor crisis in Haiti has no simple solution. Nonetheless, long-term measures to address the root causes of the crisis and the dire situation of children must be taken here and now. This is the most reliable investment in sustainable and sovereign socioeconomic and political development in Haiti. We hope that the Haitian authorities understand this. Our common objective is to furnish them with all kinds of assistance in this endeavor. I thank you.
Agradezco.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Let me begin by thanking Panama and the United States for requesting this timely briefing in view of the continuing deterioration of the security, humanitarian, and human rights situation in Haiti. Of course, I also wish to thank Secretary General for his remarks and Director Russell for her briefing, as well as Mr. Roosevelt for highlighting the risks that children are facing in Haiti on a daily basis. I welcome the representatives of the Dominican Republic, Barbados, and Haiti to the meeting. Mr. President, at the outset, let me express our deep concern over the escalating spread of gang violence beyond the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. The growing presence and activities of armed gangs in Haiti's key rice basket region are fueling famine-like conditions and driving record high displacement, further exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. We reiterate our call on all actors to allow and facilitate full, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access to these and all other areas, as well as to ensure the respect for and protection of humanitarian personnel. Furthermore, reducing the territorial control of armed gangs in urban hubs, agriculture areas, and along vital transport routes must be an immediate priority to enable and safeguard food production and its unimpeded transport and delivery. Mr. President, we are deeply alarmed that amid widespread human rights abuses, children continue to bear the heaviest burden of the insecurity. Many of them, without possibility for an education, are daily exposed to the killing, maiming, abduction, recruitment by gangs, and particularly for young girls, recurring incidents of sexual and gender-based violence, including gang rapes. We urge on all actors to uphold their obligations under international law, treat every civilian with dignity, and to end and prevent grave violations and abuses against children. At the same time, national authorities, with support from international community, must prioritize and integrate the safety and protection of all children, including those formerly or currently recruited and used by armed gangs. In this regard, we welcome the government signing of 2024 handover protocol, which rightly recognizes children associated with armed gangs primarily as victims, and we call for the continued full implementation of its provisions. Mr. President, to alleviate the suffering of the most vulnerable, particularly children, Slovenia calls on the international community to contribute urgently to the critically underfunded Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan, which is the lowest funded response plan in the world. Ultimately, however, restoring security across the country must be our central focus, as it is the key to Haiti's economic recovery, democratic stability, and what its resilient population is longing for. In recent weeks, the Council has demonstrated unity and taken important steps by adding Vin Ansam and Grongrief to the sanctions list. Gangs responsible, among other things, for committing grave violations affecting children. Yet this Council needs to do more. Now the time has come for us to once again demonstrate unity, heed the numerous calls, and established a UN support office to help Haiti break free from the spiral of a deadly violence. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Slovenia for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to begin by thanking Secretary General Guterres and UNICEF Executive Director Russell for their comprehensive and insightful briefings. My appreciation also goes to Mr. Roosevelt for his sobering testimony. I also welcome the presence of the representative of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados. Mr. President, Korea remains gravely concerned about the continued deterioration of the security situation in Haiti. The escalating violence by gangs and armed groups has driven the humanitarian crisis to unprecedented levels, with the children bearing the heaviest burden, as today's briefers emphasized. Against this backdrop, Mr. President, I would like to highlight the 3 points. First, the Security Council must swiftly determine the next step in addressing this crisis. Security remains the indispensable foundation for all progress. We must make full use of the limited time before us to accelerate discussions on the Secretary General's recommendations and reflect them as concretely as possible in the upcoming resolution on the renewal of the MSS mandate. Only then can you provide the people of Haiti with the clarity and support they urgently need. Second, we must keep the humanitarian emergency at the center of our attention, with a particular focus on the children of Haiti, who represent the country's future. Support for education, healthcare, and food security is not only essential to alleviating the immediate crisis, but also to laying the groundwork for Haiti's long-term stability and sustainable development. To this end, we reiterate our call on gangs and armed groups to seize all violations against children and allow unimpeded humanitarian access to the most vulnerable. Third, integrated support from the international community is indispensable. In this regard, we welcome the recent roadmap put forward by the OAS. We hope this initiative will serve as a catalyst to mobilize broader regional and international contributions. And we encourage close coordination between the United Nations and the regional partners and organizations in advancing these efforts. Mr. President, we know that the most vulnerable are bearing the brunt of this crisis. The statistics on children in Haiti are not just numbers. They represent real people. To save the children of Haiti and thereby Haiti's future, we must act with urgency. The people of Haiti have placed their trust in this council, and we cannot afford to fail them. The Republic of Korea remains ready to work with the Council and the international community to address Haiti's multidimensional crisis and to help return the country to the path of peace and sustainable development. I thank you.
Agradezco.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, I thank Secretary General Guterres and Executive Director Russell for their briefings. I've also listened carefully to the statement made by the civil society representative. I welcome the representatives of Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Barbados at today's meeting. With multiple crises compounding each other, the Haitian security situation continues to worsen. Its economic development is in a standstill, and the people are suffering deeply. A large number of people do not have enough food, they are displaced, and even forced to join gangs. A vast majority of these people are children, the youngest of whom are as young as 8 years old. As major donors have drastically reduced their foreign aid, Haiti's humanitarian program this year has only seen 9% of it being funded, thus exacerbating its humanitarian crisis. China deeply sympathizes with the Haitian people and is deeply concerned about Haiti's prospect. We sympathize with Haitian children, especially. China calls on the Haitian authorities, regional countries, and international community to make joint efforts to help Haiti get out of its predicament as soon as possible. First, responsibility must be taken up to promote the political process. The root causes for the chaos in Haiti lies in the absence of a legitimate government and orderly national governance. Although the Haitian transitional authorities have only 6 months left in their terms of office, they should still work actively and effectively protect their population, especially vulnerable groups such as women and children, so as to rebuild the trust of the Haitian people in the authorities and their confidence in the future of the country. We expect the Haitian authorities to unite all parties and factions so that the Haitian-led and owned political process can yield substantive progress at an early date, thus creating conditions and laying foundations for the international community to provide stable, sustainable assistance to Haiti. We welcome BNU and CARICOM and others continue to play their positive role in this regard. Second, efforts of all parties must be coordinated to improve the security situation. We call on the Haitian authorities to increase security inputs, rationalize resource allocations, and promote synergy in the international community's security assistance to Haiti. China commands the Kenya-led MSS for its assistance in improving the security situation in Haiti. China calls on the country that initiated and donated to MSS, and in particular the country that bears primary responsibility for the situation of Haiti, to continue to provide funding support. Meanwhile, the Security Council should implement arms embargo against Haiti and cut off the supply of arms and ammunition to the GANs. China stands ready to continue to work with the Sanctions Committee and UNODC to promote sanctions implementation, increase deterrence against the GANs. China expects regional countries, CARICOM and OAS, to continue to increase their support for Haiti. Third, the economy and people's livelihoods must be improved to alleviate their humanitarian hardship. We encourage the Haitian authorities to increase their investment in development and improve people's livelihood. We call on the international community to step up humanitarian assistance to help Haiti eradicate poverty, improve education, healthcare, and social service, so as to continuously strengthen Haiti's ability to safeguard people's livelihoods and develop the economy on its own. We support ECOSOC, PPC, and UN development and humanitarian agencies and continue to play their due roles in these areas. We call on the IFIs, OAS, and other organizations to invest more in helping Haiti to develop its economy, improve people's livelihoods, and eliminate the breeding grounds for violence. Lastly, with regard to the proposal to establish a support office for MSS, China believes that any action taken by the Security Council should be based on careful study and ample reasoning, drawing on the lessons learned from past UN operations and taking into account the legitimate concerns and suggestions of all parties. China stands ready to maintain communication with all parties in searching for a consensus. China will continue to work with the international community to play our constructive role in helping Haiti emerge out of the crisis at an early date. I thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for the statement. I'd also like to welcome the representatives of Haiti, Barbados, and the Dominican Republic to the chamber, and I intend to give them the floor now. First of all, I would like to give the floor to the representative of Haiti.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. President, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Security Council members, Ambassadors, distinguished colleagues. At the outset, we would like to hail the Panamanian presidency of the Council during the month of August. We'd like to extend to Panama and to the United States, the two co-pen holders on Haiti, our gratitude for convening this meeting on the humanitarian situation in Haiti. I'd like to thank the Secretary General for his detailed and edifying briefing. We'd also like to thank the Executive Director of UNICEF, Ms. Catherine Russell, and my fellow Haitian, Jean-Jean Roosevelt. In their statements, they put the spotlight on the scale of challenges when it comes to the situation of children. They reiterated that time is of the essence. We welcome the constructive and forward-looking interventions of Security Council members as well. We'd like to thank the presence of the Ambassador of the Dominican Republic, as well as the Ambassador of Barbados, who will be delivering a statement on behalf of the Caribbean community, CARICOM. We support that statement, which will be delivered. President, we fully appreciate the convening of this important session, which was preceded by a crucial meeting held yesterday, an organization of American States meeting on the Haitian-led roadmap for stability and peace, which garnered regional and international support. Our Prime Minister, as well as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Haiti, participated in that meeting. President, the humanitarian situation in Haiti, as clearly stated by previous speakers, continues to deteriorate, and this at a concerning pace, as evidenced by the figures we were given. I would like to stress a number of facts which are weakening the social fabric in Haiti. These include the use of rape by gangs as a weapon of domination and humiliation, especially when waged against women and children. The dysfunction of the health system, especially outside Port-au-Prince, where less than half of facilities are operating, as well as the surge of malnutrition, which has become one of our most pressing concerns. President, on the humanitarian response, it remains absolutely vital, given the high number of IDPs fleeing the violence of armed gangs. According to some assessments, a high percentage of the displaced population is unfortunately facing acute food insecurity. What's more is, a large proportion of our agricultural production is not reaching the main centers of consumption, in particular the Port-au-Prince metropolitan region. To address this distress that comes on top of structural problems in our society, the government has mobilized resources so as to assist over 200,000 families who are amongst the most vulnerable and the hardest hit by the crisis. We're well aware that this is wholly insufficient given the scale of need. Against this backdrop, while our institutions are thinking about how we can significantly increase food assistance, the government has strongly recommended to regional and international partners that they steer their efforts towards initiatives which would allow displaced persons to return home and to reduce their dependence on food aid. All of this, President, is in keeping with the Secretary General's proposal to have a hybrid format combining security, humanitarian, and development assistance. Indeed, combining these three pillars is absolutely vital. Security assistance can help restore order and protect our population. At the same time, humanitarian assistance would meet immediate needs for the most vulnerable. Furthermore, we would thereby support the agricultural recovery to reduce food aid dependence. The short-term strategy, underpinned by a search for solutions on the immediate needs for food, health, education, and at the same time laying the groundwork for a resumption of economic activities and an agricultural revival is what we're after. The government thus calls for secure logistical support to deliver assistance, large-scale support for the agricultural recovery, and support for SMEs. This action is vital if we're to meet immediate need of the most vulnerable and to progressively reduce dependence on food aid. This is an integrated approach which can help to effectively respond to the pressing needs, all the while laying the foundations for an economic recovery. President, the gravity of the situation in Haiti requires a coordinated humanitarian response that's also lasting and integrated. It should be endowed with adequate and sufficient resources so that we can confront the multiple challenges we face. It is worrisome to see that the humanitarian response plan devised by our international partners has only been 8% funded. As was stated earlier, out of the $908 million required to help 3.9 million people in need, only $70 million have been received to date. That's less than 10%. Faced with the situation, we must find imaginative ways of securing other sources of funding. We must also effectively and efficiently manage the paltry resources we do have available. This is why we need to work in unison so as to meticulously implement the Sevilla commitment for a new financing architecture for international cooperation. At this juncture, the international affairs are dominated by multiple crises which compel multilateralism to urgently prioritize humanitarian issues, solidarity among peoples, especially the most vulnerable sectors of society, and all of this with a view to leaving no one behind. We must be particularly vigilant so as to avoid duplication as well as isolated efforts being undertaken. On this note, we'd like to once again call for coordinated and sustained humanitarian action in keeping with national priorities. President, by way of conclusion, resolving Haiti's humanitarian crisis inevitably requires us to address the serious security crisis afflicting the country. For this reason, we'd like to once again reiterate that there's a pressing need for Security Council members to take a stance without delay on the Secretary General's proposal setting out the major elements of the role that the UN is called upon to play in Haiti as it faces this multidimensional crisis, which has gone on for far too long and cost the lives of millions of innocent civilians. I thank you.
Agradezco a la delegación.
I thank the representative of Haiti for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Dominican Republic. President, the Dominican Republic would like to thank Panama and the US for convening this debate on the eve of the 20th anniversary of Resolution 1612, which established an historic framework for the protection of children in armed conflict. We join those, such as the Secretary General, the Director of UNICEF, Ms. Russell, and the civil society briefer, who have spoken before us and underscored that today the international community is facing an unprecedented challenge. Grave violations against children have reached alarming levels, both in terms of their scale and also their cruelty. I would also like to recognize the distinguished representative of Barbados being at this meeting. Haiti is a particularly alarming case in this context, and it is also a litmus test for this Council's credibility. Your Excellencies, the humanitarian situation in Haiti is tragic. More than 5.4 million people are facing acute food insecurity, and 1.3 million have been displaced by violence, half of them children. The lack of food, water, medical and educational services have created a breeding ground for the expansion of criminal gangs. Against this alarming backdrop, children are the main victims. Between 30 and 50% of members of gangs are children and teenagers, recruited forcibly or subjected to tasks of spying and couriering. Girls disproportionately face sexual violence as a way of control and humiliation. In 2024, there were more than 560 cases that were verified, but that's surely only a fraction of a larger, more painful reality. Sir, I'd like to state the obvious. Without security, there can be no humanitarian solution that can be possible in Haiti. No nutritional or health education program can prosper while more than 80% of the country's capital and many other parts of the country remain under the control of criminal armed gangs. The absence of collective effective action has allowed the tragedy to get worse and left children seemingly at the mercy of the gangs. But resolving the crisis is not impossible. What is needed is political will and concerted action. Your Excellencies, the Dominican Republic believes that the path towards stability in Haiti involves 3 areas of work. First, restoring security and the rule of law. The multinational security support mission led by Kenya is a commendable effort, but it's not enough. This Council must equip it with resources, capacities, and a robust strategic framework to allow it to diminish the power of the gangs and to give civilians safe spaces once again. Secondly, we need to bolster humanitarian assistance, focusing in particular on the plight of children. These programs must prioritize therapeutic food, drinking water, vaccination, and emergency education, and also provide psychosocial care and protection mechanisms for children, particularly focusing on girls who have been victims of sexual violence. Thirdly, we must guarantee the reintegration of minors linked to armed groups. We must see investment in education, vocational training, and community support so that these children find dignified alternatives and do not remain trapped in a cycle of intergenerational violence. President, we acknowledge the efforts that are ongoing in the Council in this regard, and we welcome the initiatives such as the submission of discussion papers and the document that has been put forward by the US and Panama. We hope that this will mobilize international action, and we trust that this will pave the way towards a swift, sustained, and effective response, which will allow Haiti to recover its security and to open the way for development and humanitarian aid. The Dominican Republic reiterates its availability to work constructively within this Council and also the wider UN. Every day of inaction means more children recruited, more girls raped, more families condemned to hunger and displacement. Protecting children means protecting the hope for an entire country. This Council has the duty to show that the international community can respond effectively and with humanity. Thank you, President.
A la delegación.
I thank the representative of the Dominican Republic for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Barbados.
Mr. President, Excellencies, colleagues, I have the honor to deliver today's statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean community. CARICOM would like to thank you, Mr. President, and the members of this council for convening this meeting. We also take the opportunity to thank UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, UNICEF Executive Director Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for their insightful and heartfelt briefings. Mr. President, CARICOM is encouraged that the Council continues to remain engaged on the steadily deteriorating and worrisome situation in Haiti, and that you have chosen to convene this briefing at this most critical moment, a moment when Haiti needs the support of the international community more than ever. Mr. President, as we have heard countless times before and again today, the situation in Haiti is untenable and requires urgent action. It is for this reason that CARICOM reiterates its strong support for the UN Secretary General's recommendations contained in his letter to the Council of February of this year. We continue to look forward to substantive discussions by the Council on those proposals. In our view, the proposals contained in that letter constitute a pragmatic approach to addressing some of the limitations under which the multinational security support mission is presently operating. It is clear that the situation will continue to deteriorate unless the Council acts decisively and with urgency in this regard. No action is therefore not an option before you. In order for there to be sustained and tangible improvement in the living conditions for the people of Haiti, international support and collaboration must remain central and must be significantly enhanced. CARICOM therefore underscores other calls for the urgent capitalization of the Haiti Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan and for greater support for the MSS. The briefing by UNICEF Executive Director makes clear that the consequences of our inaction are, as ever, affecting the most vulnerable, the children and the young people of Haiti, most dramatically. Mr. President, Excellencies, CARICOM heads of government convened in Jamaica in July and expressed their deep concern over the lack of improvement of conditions in Haiti. At that meeting, they also reiterated their own commitment to expanding efforts to engage with all relevant actors for resources, for security support, and humanitarian assistance. CARICOM acknowledges with appreciation the considerable efforts made by the MSS and its contributing member states, including several CARICOM countries, and the able leadership provided by Kenya. We also express our appreciation to the leadership and staff of BINU and other stakeholders who have been unsparing in their efforts to address the crisis in Haiti. We look forward in particular to working closely with the new SRSG, Carlos Gabriel Ruiz Massieu Aguirre. Mr. President, in closing, time is of the essence. We urge the Council to step up its support to the people of Haiti and to take action today to put an end to the violence and the displacement that has ravaged Haiti and the Haitian people for too long. I thank you, Mr. President.
Agradezco a la delegación.
I thank the representative of Barbados for the statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
We have another.